Good evening. We start tonight with breaking news. A verdict was just reached in Sam Bankman-Fried's federal fraud trial. A judge has found him guilty of all 7 counts. It comes after a month-long trial where authorities accused the co-founder of cryptocurrency exchange FTX of defrauding investors by funneling money into his private hedge fund and conspiring to commit wire fraud against customers and lenders. The jury reached the verdict after just 4 hours of deliberations. Joining me now with more is NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Danny, as we mentioned, the jury came back relatively quickly in this case. Was this something that you expected?
Yes, it was. Maybe not this quickly, but I was pretty certain it was going to be guilty on all counts. I mean, after all, guilty on one would have probably led to guilty on all. I think maybe you could say the nail in the coffin was when he took the stand, but arguably the reason he took the stand is that the case was just not looking that good for the defense. And look, in these financial white-collar cases, the government, they investigate for a long time before they feel they are ready to bring an indictment. And when they make a case, it usually stays made at this level. They had a lot of really powerful evidence. They had cooperating witnesses, high-level cooperating witnesses. They gave them a deal. They took the stand and pointed at Sam Bankman-Fried. The outcome, at least for me, was never really in doubt.
And Danny, this has been one of the most high-profile financial crimes cases we've seen in years. What does this trial's verdict mean for business empires in the future moving forward?
Well, in a sense, it really echoes something that's always been known, which is that you don't play around with your accounts and take from customers. I mean, this is the same lesson from the Bernie Madoff cases, from really, white-collar cases since time immemorial. So, I mean, the lesson for businesses going forward, I guess if there is one to be gleaned, is that if you're in an emerging market like crypto, which is maybe lesser regulated than other markets, it's not the Wild West. I mean, theft and fraud and those concepts are alive and well, whether you're in a less regulated market or a highly regulated market. So I guess that might be the message for crypto folks going forward. And I have to say, after covering this case, and maybe you had the same experience, for the last couple of years, I mean, folks in the crypto world were very, very interested in this case, watching it very closely, I imagine, to get an idea of what regulations will look like in a post-Sam Bankman-Fried crypto world.
And Danny, we know the penalty in this case is something as high as like 110 years in jail, in prison. How harsh do you think the penalty will be for SBF here?
At this stage, the only knowable sentencing number is to take the statutory maximums for each count and line them up consecutively, because that is theoretically the statutory maximum in this case, and it's the only knowable number at this stage. But the ultimate sentence in federal court, at least, is rarely anywhere close to that number. Sam Bankman-Fried is not likely to be sentenced to a number close to the sum of all the potential statutory maximums lined up end to end to end to end. However, in white-collar cases, and I've had this with my own cases, when you're dealing with gigantic loss amounts in the millions, what that does is it takes the sentencing guidelines, which is the real metric that gives us I guess you would say, a better forecast of the sentence. And that's not a number that's known yet, but at some point prior to March 28th, which is his sentencing date, he will report to probation. They will do an interview, do a background, and they will start calculating the sentencing guidelines, which is a Byzantine formula put out by the Sentencing Commission that arrives at, if you run the numbers through it, a sentencing range. And here's the crazy thing. A decade ago or so, the Supreme Court said you can calculate the sentencing guideline range, but the judge doesn't even have to follow it. The judge can sentence above it, below it, or even within it. So the reality is Sam Bankman-Fried will not get 100 or plus years in prison, but he will get a very significant prison sentence because the sentencing guidelines punish greatly loss amounts when they're in the millions, as I imagine that's the way loss will be calculated in this case. There certainly are victims in this case, and the dollar amounts at stake are huge, and that is a huge factor when it comes to federal sentencing guidelines.
All right, we know that sentencing is expected sometime March 28th. Danny Cevallos, thank you. Joining me now with more on how this is going to impact the business world is senior business correspondent Christine Romans. Christine, thanks for being with us. Was it a mistake to put Bankman-Fried on the stand?
You know, certainly in hindsight, it looks that way, doesn't it? But they wanted those defense attorneys wanted him to tell his story. A very bright guy. He went to MIT. He founded this crypto firm that was meant to really be a Main Street way to get into crypto. You'll recall all of that advertising in the Super Bowl more than a year ago, right? Trying to appeal to mom and pops that, hey, crypto is safe. In this case, it was not. And on the stand, I think 140 times he said, I cannot recall. So here's this bright MIT crypto billionaire at one point who then basically said, I don't really remember and I didn't really know what was going on. And the jury just didn't buy it.
And Christine, 3 top executives of FTX all testified against him. Was this a slam dunk for the prosecution from the beginning?
You know, his whole executive team, essentially people who used to be his friends, all got on the stand and said the same thing, that he knew what was going on. And this is what prosecutors had to prove, that he did know that this fraud, this conspiracy was happening, and that he had criminal intent. And again, the jury said he did.
All right, Christine, once again, Sam Bankman-Fried found guilty on all 7 counts by a jury this evening. Christine, thank you. Turning our attention to Israel, where for a second day in a row, a number of people have crossed into Egypt from Gaza via the Rafah crossing, including nearly 80 Americans. The evacuations were happening as Israel's military says it has reached Gaza City today and engaged in what they're calling, quote, face-to-face battles with Hamas. All of this happening as the U.S. is pushing for a pause in the fighting.
What we're talking about are temporary, localized pauses in the fighting to meet a certain goal or goals. As I said, get A in, get people out.
But an Israel Defense Forces spokesperson says the, quote, concept of any ceasefire is currently off the table, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu adding in a post on X that, quote, we are making progress and nothing will stop us. Today, Israeli forces continued to hit Gaza with airstrikes. Since the start of the war, Israel says it has hit more than 12,000 targets in Gaza, which include the twin airstrikes that hit the Jabalia refugee camp just this week. And despite Israeli ground troops pushing deeper and deeper into Gaza, today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on his way to Israel to push for what U.S. officials are calling, quote, humanitarian pauses in the war.
We will be talking about concrete steps that can and should be taken to minimize harm to men, women, and children in Gaza. When I see a Palestinian child, a boy, a girl, pulled from the rubble of a collapsed building, that hits me in the gut as much as seeing a child in Israel or anywhere else.
So far, the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry says Israeli airstrikes have killed more than 9,000 people in Gaza. Let's bring in NBC's Ellison Barber, who is with us from the Israel-Gaza border. Ellison, where are Israeli ground forces right now? The IDF says they have encircled Gaza City, and in the meantime, there have been all these calls for a ceasefire or a pause. Are those having any impact that you're seeing?
No indication from the Israeli government, Israeli military leaders, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the opposition leaders. I mean, no indication from any of them on the Israeli side that they are even open to the idea of a ceasefire. At one point, as we heard those calls grow a couple of days ago, Prime Minister Netanyahu put it this way. He said, in our view, a ceasefire would mean surrendering to Hamas, and that's not something we will do. So right now, there has been nothing to indicate that there is any wiggle room in the Israelis' position when it comes to a ceasefire. Could that change when Secretary of State Antony Blinken gets here? We'll see. But you hear probably that artillery in the distance, a reminder there is no ceasefire here or any indication of it on the ground. In fact, in the last couple of hours, in the overnight hours here, we watched as there was just this massive bombardment in a pocket in an area that would presumably and appeared to be from our vantage point the northwest suburbs of Gaza City. Just a constant flow, and you see it there on your screen now, of flares in the sky lighting up an area where there was massive amounts of military activity on the ground. You see the smoke plumes, just the constant cycle of explosions in that area. We believe, based on what some military experts who also were watching this said, is that those flares were being used by Israel to light the way for their forces on the ground there, engaging in some sort of close-up combat. We have heard from Israel. They say that they are engaging in what they have described as face-to-face battles. We've also heard that similar language from Hamas's military wing, where they say they are engaging in violent clashes on the ground with Israeli tanks, with Israeli soldiers face-to-face. And in terms of the idea of a ceasefire, the international community is talking a lot about it. But the only thing the Israeli government and Israeli military leadership are saying about those calls is we will not do it.
Ellison, more Americans left through Rafah today. What are those evacuations looking like? And how many people is that deal hoping to evacuate?
Yeah, so the plan, and this deal was initially negotiated between 4 countries, Qatar acting as the mediator. It was negotiated between Israel, Hamas, Gaza Strip, as well as Egypt and the United States. And what NBC had been told was that ultimately the goal will be to allow for at least the next few days up to 500 people with alternate passports, either dual citizenships or foreign nationals, to cross out. We know that almost close to 80 people who have American passports have been able to leave, as well as their family members. But by some estimates, they're believed to be about 7,000 or more people who are considered foreign nationals who might want to be leaving that area. We have also seen some Gazans, Palestinians who were injured, be allowed to leave to cross into Egypt to get medical treatment. That's because it's very hard to get treatment inside of Gaza right now, because hospitals are running out of supplies as well as fuel to keep their generators running. So for now, it seems like in the coming days, more people will be allowed to cross if they have another passport. But there are a lot of people who are civilians who have been seriously impacted by this war. And the reality for them, Valerie, is that there's not an option to leave even if they wanted one. Valerie?
Ellison, there's one American doctor who was evacuated out of Rafah yesterday that had this to say about the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Let's take a listen to that.
Local Gazans that were living adjacent to where we were, they weren't getting water. I mean, we were limited on water. We would run out of water for hygiene and flushing the toilet, and they ran out long before we did, and they were running out of drinking water.
Clean drinking water, just one of the things that they are in desperate need of. Ellison, we saw pictures today of Palestinians using seawater to wash clothes, taking it home. What is the humanitarian situation like on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, over 100 trucks of humanitarian aid were able to cross the border this morning. That puts the total of humanitarian trucks that have been able to cross carrying food, water, and medical supplies at more than 300. But that is not nearly enough when you think that before the war even started, they were sending in around 400 truckloads of humanitarian aid every single day. The fact that since October 7th, only 300 plus have gotten in, it's really not nearly enough to deal with the needs people have there. And I've spoken to people just about a week and a half ago, someone who was telling me they were already in a situation like what that American who is out now described, where they were trying to ration essentially the water and the food that they had. They were telling me that the adults were eating whatever the children didn't finish eating at the end of a meal because they were having such difficulty finding food. And they'd said the one bakery in their neighborhood had been struck by Israeli airstrikes. So even the lines to get bread, and they were already so long, they couldn't even go to a place nearby to try and get food. It was a task just to find basic necessities. And as humanitarian aid comes in, more is coming in every day. But the reality is it is not nearly enough. Valerie?
Okay. Ellison, Barbara, we appreciate your reporting there. Thank you. This latest phase of Israel's ground invasion into Gaza has been particularly intense, with IDF troops saying they are fighting Hamas militants on the ground in and around Gaza City today. NBC's Clint Watts is at the big board with more on how and where Israeli forces are crossing into Gaza.
We're coming to the end of the first week of Israel's second phase of their invasion of Gaza. Over the last week, we've seen them enter here and here last Thursday and Friday, creating assembly areas in this sector in the northwest. On Monday, we saw them advancing down here to the south with intense combat operations around Johor. then stemming to a blocking position here on the main highway connecting North and South Gaza, trying to trap in and box in Hamas militants. They then also breached here, creating another assembly area to the northeast. Just looking in, we now have satellite footage where we can focus in and understand exactly what the Israeli military is doing. And what becomes clear is they're creating parallel axes of advance where they're bringing in tank formations, mechanized infantry, and moving them to battle positions here and here. What you see out towards the Mediterranean Sea is the Israeli military advancing in two separate columns, coming down and creating assembly areas deeper inside Gaza. If you look today, you will see they're building up some combat power here. That's likely an assembly area to do more urban warfare, more direct attacks on Hamas militant positions inside Gaza City. If you pull back out, though, this brings the question of civilian casualties and airstrikes. Jabalia, the refugee camps there have been 2 massive airstrikes. You can tell based on this cone formation in the ground that there's been some sort of massive airstrike, begging the question, what is the target? Israel says they're going after Hamas militants and killed some in underground tunnels. However, there are civilians, women, children being pulled from the rubble, lots of civilian casualties as well that are not explained, at least at present. Today, towards the south, we have a very different situation going on in terms of getting refugees outside of Gaza. Here in this Rafah area, there are humanitarian camps have been set up, and several hundred people actually moved across the border into Egypt yesterday. Meanwhile, we have vehicles coming the other way with supplies. The humanitarian situation is dire. Question is, how many people can move per day out into Egypt, and what is the process to get that done so that more people are safe?
Okay, Clint Watts, thank you. Some breaking news to tell you about on Capitol Hill. A short time ago, the House passed a Republican-led bill to give Israel more than $14 billion in aid. The vote was mostly along party lines, championed by Louisiana Republican and new House Speaker Mike Johnson. It sets up a clash in the Senate where Democrats say they prefer an aid package that also includes money for Ukraine. NBC News senior national political reporter Sahil Kapoor has more. Hey, Sahil.
The House voted 226 to 196 this evening to pass a major bill that grants $14.3 billion in aid to Israel. It was Speaker Mike Johnson's first legislative test, and he managed to keep, for the most part, his conference together, losing the votes of just 2 Republicans and gaining 12 Democrats for a bill that is dead on arrival in the Senate and has drawn vociferous objections from the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, as well as a veto threat from President Joe Biden, who objected to $14.3 billion in cuts to IRS funding from the president's signature achievement, which the Congressional Budget Office, the nonpartisan scorekeeper, said would grow the deficit by lowering tax collections. There's a veto threat by the president, but the bill is not getting to his desk because Senator Chuck Schumer has made clear that the chamber is not even going to consider it. Let's play what Schumer had to say.
The Senate will not take up the House's GOP's deeply flawed proposal, and instead will work on our own bipartisan emergency aid package that includes aid to Israel, Ukraine, competition with the Chinese government, and humanitarian aid for Gaza. It still mystifies me that at a moment when the world is in crisis, at a time when we need to help Israel respond to Hamas, the House GOP thought it was a good idea to tie Israel aid to a hard-right proposal that will raise the deficit and is totally partisan.
Now, what Schumer instead wants to do is pass a larger supplemental bill that combines various funding requests from President Biden. That includes this $14.3 billion in aid to Israel. It includes additional aid to Ukraine. It includes U.S. border security funding on the U.S.-Mexico, the southern border, as well as measures to contain the rise of China. It's now on Senator Chuck Schumer to figure out what, if anything, the Senate can pass. They need 60 votes over there, which means it has to be a bipartisan approach. There has been a lot of sentiment in the Senate about combining these measures because many Senate Republicans, including the Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, support aid to Ukraine. This is all coming just 15 days before a major deadline to fund the government that could get roped up with some of these supplemental requests. There's been suggestions, including from Speaker Johnson, about a short-term bill to get us through early into the next year of 2024. Kapoor. What we saw today was phase one of Speaker Johnson's plan. He was able to keep his conference united, able to pass a bill in the House. We'll find out soon what phase two looks like when he has to make a law with a Democratic-led Senate and a Democratic president. Valerie?
Okay, Sahil Kapoor, thank you. Tensions have been running high on college campuses since the Israel-Hamas war broke out on October 7th, with students clashing in person and online with anti-Semitic and Islamophobic attacks, harassment, and at times, even outright violence. One such incident happened on the campus of Tulane University in New Orleans last week. NBC's Stephanie Gosk has more.
At Tulane University's campus in New Orleans today, Jewish students organized a unity rally. The scene, a far cry from what took place last week. Just off campus, a clash between pro-Israel students and a pro-Palestinian group.
It was terrifying.
Second-year law student Ryan Zamos is Jewish. He shot the video.
An Israeli flag was being burned, and a brave Tulane student attempted to grab the flag before a fight broke out.
A Tulane student was injured in the brawl. 3 others who don't attend the university were arrested.
The violence that occurred outside our campus was horrific, and we condemned it.
Tulane President Michael Fitz says people came to campus to incite violence.
Is it possible to have a fair-minded debate on this war that doesn't descend into hate speech and threats or violence?
The promise of a university is exactly that, to engage in those conversations. That's what we're about, mutual respect.
It's our hope that, we can kind of help foster that kind of meaningful, productive dialogue, because otherwise it's just chaos.
Hannah Leviton and Gabby Liebeler work for Tulane's independent paper, The Hullabaloo.
I think that the outbursts of violence in last week's rallies were definitely shocking.
Is it fair to say that some students are scared right now?
Absolutely.
Threats and violence are easy to identify, President Fitz says. Hate speech can be harder.
The question is at what moment something becomes hateful, and we need to call that out as hateful.
The day of the protest, the pro-Palestinian group had banners that said "From the river to the sea," a slogan that is often used by Hamas and what many Jewish people see as a call for violence.
From the river to the sea is the elimination of Israel as a state, and with that means where are those 12 million Jews going to go?
Hannah and Gabby have spoken to students who disagree.
I believe that they interpret it as a call for Palestinian liberation, but I think the most important thing is that it has the potential to feel like hate speech to others.
And I think that you really have to balance those two perspectives, but we're not making room for both sides.
President Fitz sees potential in this divisive moment for students to teach each other something.
We've got to keep students safe, and they will remember what they learned from it and what they learned about their ability to come together as part of it.
The hope is that empathy and understanding will overcome the hate. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, New Orleans.
Our thanks to Stephanie for that report. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. Nearly 3 decades after his death, the man accused of killing Tupac Shakur is in court. Welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. A murder trial is underway in Texas for the woman accused of killing professional cyclist Mo Wilson. Prosecutors say Caitlin Armstrong tracked Wilson's movements on the exercise app Strava when she stopped her car and shot her multiple times. Court records say Wilson dated the same man as Armstrong. Armstrong has pleaded not guilty. Oral arguments were heard today in a case asking Minnesota's Supreme Court to disqualify Donald Trump from the primary ballot over his role in the January 6th Capitol attack. Justices questioned whether it was appropriate for states to determine a candidate's eligibility for president. A similar case is playing out in Colorado. Toyota is recalling over 1.8 million RAV4 SUVs over a potential fire risk. Toyota says RAV4s from 2013 to 2018 may have replacement batteries that are too small, causing them to move. It's not clear yet if any fires have been reported due to this issue. Amusement park companies Six Flags and Cedar Fair announced they are merging today in a deal worth more than $3.5 billion. The combined company will have 27 amusement parks, 15 water parks, and 9 resorts across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And the Texas Rangers are officially World Series champions. They beat the Arizona Diamondbacks last night 5-0 in Game 5. The celebrations carried over to the locker room with plenty of champagne to go around. A parade for the Rangers is set for tomorrow in Arlington. It's day 2 of testimony from the Trump brothers in New York State's $250 million civil fraud suit against their family business. New York Attorney General Letitia James alleges both the former president and his 3 eldest children exaggerated the worth of the Trump organization for years. Today, Trump's eldest son, Don Jr., wrapped up his testimony. Shortly thereafter, his younger brother, Eric, took the stand for the first time. Both Trump and his daughter, Ivanka, are expected to do the same next week, and the stakes here are huge. If they're found guilty, Trump's 2 sons could be banned from running businesses in New York ever again, and Trump himself could face a 5-year real estate ban. Cameras weren't permitted to record their statements, but here's what Don Jr. had to say outside the courthouse.
Before even having a day in court, I'm apparently guilty of fraud for relying on my accountants to do, wait for it, accounting. You pay experts millions of dollars to be experts. You sign off on what they give you, and you're liable.
Joining us now is NBC News legal analyst Angela Sinadella. Angela, what is Don Jr.'s defense here?
So his defense is one that's very common in white-collar cases, which is, it wasn't me. I was just listening to other people who seemed to know more than me at the time. So he's saying it was his accountants. Now, look, for regular people like you or me, that's an excuse that could fly very well. We were just listening to professionals. But when you are the executive vice president of an organization and your role encompasses a lot of financial duties, and as trustee, you've signed these documents every year, that argument tends to carry far less weight.
And Eric Trump also took the stand today. His testimony was allegedly a little more heated. What was that all about?
Yes, it was. So he was saying, I just build buildings. I'm in real estate, the construction. I have nothing to do with the appraisals or anything financial related. However, the Attorney General's office did bring up some emails which showed that he did claim knowledge of finances. But he attempted to separate. He attempted to say that had to do with the financial records of the company. This has to do with the financial statements of my father, and those are very different things. But he got very angry in the process.
The former president and his daughter Ivanka are set to testify next week, but we know Ivanka filed an appeal yesterday trying to get out of it. Do you think she has a case there?
I don't think she'll get out of it. Look, the judge already said, no, you have to come and you have to talk. What she has going for her is that she's the only one here who is no longer a co-defendant in the trial, so she might not have to be there. But her excuse that, look, she's far, she's not in New York anymore, and that it's a school week is a little bit of a weak excuse, to be honest.
All right. Angela Sinadella, thank you as always. We appreciate your time. Coming up, the man accused of killing Tupac Shakur nearly 30 years ago pleaded not guilty today. Those details are coming up. But first, you got to see this. Body cam footage shows how 2 Florida police officers saved a man trapped under a car. Police say 2 men propped their car up with metal ramps to work on repairs, but those ramps failed and the whole car fell on the man beneath, trapping him. Cops raced to respond to the 911 call, literally pulling the car off the ground to free him. He was pulled out just in time, with doctors calling his rescue a miracle. He is now in the hospital recovering from several cracked ribs and broken bones, but he is expected to recover. Just an unbelievable rescue there. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Here are some of the stories happening out west that we're following. Las Vegas casinos could be a week away from coming to a grinding halt. That's because more than 35,000 hospitality workers there are prepared to walk off the job if the casino companies do not reach a deal with labor leaders. Today, the Culinary Workers Union said employees at 18 resorts and casinos would go on strike if a deal isn't reached by November 10th. Someone spray painted, quote, "death to Jews" on a wall in a Las Vegas community, which is home to the majority of the Jewish population living in Vegas. The messages have since been washed off, but police are still searching for a suspect. More anti-Semitic messages were painted outside Cantor's Deli. That's a popular Jewish restaurant in Los Angeles. Police have launched a possible hate crime investigation. The Anti-Defamation League says more than half of the 300-plus anti-Semitic incidents it has recorded since the start of the Israel-Hamas war have been directly linked to the fighting. And newly released video shows the moment a speeding car in Washington state loses control, slams into a concrete barrier, and then goes airborne. The driver of that car, 26-year-old Ting Yi, has been charged with vehicular homicide. Her 27-year-old passenger, Yabu Lu, did not survive the crash. Court records allege Yi did not cooperate with investigators and has fled to her home country of China. The case has since been turned over to the Justice Department. The man Las Vegas police say orchestrated Tupac Shakur's 1996 murder pleaded not guilty in court today. Dwayne Kifidi Davis was arrested and charged with the murder back in September, decades after Shakur's death. NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin is in Los Angeles tonight. Dana, this arraignment has been delayed for weeks because the suspect didn't have a lawyer. So take us through what happened today.
Yeah, Valerie, so Dwayne Davis showed up in court for the third time without a confirmed lawyer present. So the judge gave him 2 public defenders. He pleaded not guilty to murder charges. We also heard from the state that they do not plan to seek the death penalty. Valerie?
Dana, what about the evidence that ties Davis to the crime scene? Again, this was more than 2 decades ago. What could be presented?
So today, the district attorney said that a lot of Davis's public statements, the podcasts, his own memoir, things that he has said in the media will be part of the prosecution's presentation. Now, you may remember over the summer, a search warrant was carried out at his Henderson, Nevada home where several items were seized, including computers, a hard drive, and a cell phone. What they find on those devices will likely be very key in their case. So we'll wait to see when and what evidence they have to present once this goes to trial. Valerie?
Now that it seems like he finally does have some legal representation, what is next in this case?
So he's back in court on Tuesday for a status check, and that's when the judge will likely set a trial date. We expect that to happen sometime next year. How long this case will draw out remains to be seen, and we'll be watching. Valerie?
Okay. Dana Griffin, thank you. Tonight, new details in a frightening crime that happened on an elderly couple's porch in broad daylight. Police are now looking for 3 women captured on the doorbell camera as the whole incident went down. Take a look.
This seemingly pleasant interaction quickly taking a sinister turn in San Jose, California. This woman, seen smiling and bowing on an elderly couple's Ring camera, asks for permission to cut some flowers from the couple's garden. According to the couple's grandson, 2 women then distract the elderly man, while a 3rd woman appears to go inside the home, her face clearly captured on camera. She disappears from view and begins to search the home, going door to door.
Never seen them, no recognizable faces. Because all our doorways were broken into, so they took a look into every room, it seemed like.
After finding the family's safe, a struggle ensues. One of the suspects even pushing the elderly woman back as her accomplice leaves with the safe, with more than $10,000 stashed inside, according to the couple's grandson.
It's very outrageous that they would do in broad daylight and to do with a smile on their faces, knowing that they're taking away from those who can't defend themselves.
The family says they don't know how or if the suspects knew there was a safe in the house.
They're just shocked that it happened, that they've been living here for more than 25 years, and when they first came here, they said it was much different than how it is now.
The neighborhood now on high alert.
We need more security for all the neighbors.
Scary?
Yeah, because it's in the day, so sometimes we are alone at home.
Another neighbor certain she was also a potential victim after she says the suspects knocked on her door too, offering to buy her plants.
The San Jose Police Department says the investigation is ongoing and would not share more information for fear that it could interfere with the case. They do ask that residents report any suspicious activity. One of the former Memphis police officers facing federal charges in the killing of Tyree Nichols pleaded guilty in court today. 31-year-old Desmond Mills switched his not guilty plea in a deal with prosecutors, becoming the first of the 5 officers to be indicted on federal charges. Prosecutors are now recommending Mills serve 15 years in prison. Nichols' parents attended today's hearing, saying it was hard to hear the details of what happened to their son.
This one today was very difficult for me because this was really the first time I actually heard somebody tell and say what they actually did to my son. So this was very difficult.
Nichols died in the hospital days after he was beaten by Mills and 4 other officers during a traffic stop back in January. The attack was captured on video. NBC's Antonia Hilton has more on how today's hearing went.
Hey, Valerie. Today we saw one of the former officers in Memphis, Desmond Mills, change his plea. He is now saying that he is guilty of charges against him. And it looks like the prosecution is now going to be asking for about 15 years in sentencing, although that's ultimately going to be a decision that's left up to the judge. What this tells us is that he must have made the calculation that agreeing to this and working with the prosecution now, he's going to be testifying against his fellow officers, providing insight and information about the culture of the police department, that agreeing to this and potentially spending 15 years behind bars must have been better than what might have awaited him had they gone to trial. Keep in mind here, prosecutors had a mountain of evidence. Not only was there about an hour's worth of video footage of what happened to Tyree Nichols that night, but they also had testimony from community members, information about prior interactions that officers like Desmond Mills had with people, use of force incidents, and then also evidence that after the beating of Tyree Nichols, Desmond Mills and others were not honest, not truthful about what transpired that night. It's going to be interesting to watch now because this puts pressure on the other 4 officers. When you take a plea deal, usually if you're the first to do it, that means you have the best deal. So the question now is this just the first of multiple dominoes to fall? That is what we heard Benjamin Crump, one of the attorneys for the family, mention today in a presser. And at that same presser, we heard from Tyree Nichols' mom, who described, a combination of heartbreak and resolve here and what it was like for her to see one of the officers for the first time really acknowledge in front of her what they did to her son. Keep in mind here, this is the federal criminal case. There are state charges and a larger pattern and practices investigation. So now this officer is going to play a key role in all of that.
All right, Antonia Hilton, thanks so much. Up next, some of the big stories trending around the world, including the arrest of an Australian woman who's accused of serving a deadly mushroom lunch. Those details are just ahead, so stay tuned. Welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. In Australia, a woman is charged with murder for allegedly poisoning her former in-laws and a third person with deadly mushrooms. A fourth person survived after spending nearly 4 months in a hospital. It happened over the summer at a family lunch she hosted. The woman, whose name is Erin Patterson, denies the allegations and claims she herself became sick after the lunch. A massive windstorm is being blamed for at least 7 deaths in northwest Europe. Wind gusts of more than 120 miles per hour damaged homes, canceled flights, closed schools, and knocked out power for more than 1 million people. Hundreds of thousands of Afghan migrants are facing deportation from Pakistan. Last month, the Pakistani government made a surprise announcement saying they would arrest and deport undocumented migrants. They didn't specifically point to any nationality, but most of the foreigners living in Pakistan are from Afghanistan. The largest blue diamond ever to appear at auction could sell for up to $50 million in Geneva next week. The perfectly symmetrical pear-shaped diamond is one of the rarest ever unearthed. It has been in a private collection for the last 50 years. A smaller blue diamond sold in 2016 for $57 million. They're accusing a woman of poisoning her longtime boyfriend with antifreeze. They say she did it to get his inheritance money. However, North Dakota police are now saying the money was never real. Here's NBC News correspondent Maura Barrett.
A North Dakota woman accused of poisoning her long-term boyfriend with antifreeze as part of an alleged plot to inherit part of a $30 million fortune. According to an arrest affidavit, Ina Thea Conoyer told police 51-year-old Stephen Riley Jr. had been drinking all day and had heat stroke after he fell ill and lost consciousness on September 3rd. The affidavit says Conoyer's friends told police she had made comments about wanting to poison him before, and then an autopsy showed ethylene glycol in Riley's system, a key ingredient in antifreeze.
We had received phone calls from some of the victim's friends who told us that they believed that he was possibly poisoned by Ina. So we started the investigation at that point.
According to the University of Florida Health, antifreeze, which is used in car radiators, is colorless, odorless, and can even taste sweet, making it easy to disguise in drinks. Authorities say traces of the substance were found inside the couple's home.
There were a couple containers. One was a Windex bottle. The other one was a beer bottle, believed to have antifreeze in them.
According to the affidavit, friends say that Riley believed he was about to inherit $30 million and told them he was going to leave Knoyer, who believed she was owed part of the money because she had been with him for 10 years.
There was a belief that if he wasn't in the picture, that she would be entitled to any settlement money through that common law marriage. That kind of changed as the investigators informed her that we don't have common law marriage in North Dakota.
Police also revealing there may have been no money after all.
Yeah, everything that we have indicates that that settlement doesn't exist. There wasn't a long-lost rich relative or any other type of settlement that would lead to $30 million going in the direction of the victim. But that was the belief. Both parties believed that and had discussed it with friends, discussed it with family members.
This is just the latest case in a string of alleged poison plots. Connor Bowman, a former Mayo Clinic doctor, in court on second-degree murder charges for the death of his wife, Betty Bowman. Prosecutors have accused him of poisoning her with a drug to treat gout in an alleged effort to claim $500,000 from a life insurance policy.
I'm going to turn out a detective.
And in Utah, Corey Richens awaiting trial for allegedly poisoning her husband with fentanyl for life insurance money before she wrote a children's book about grief. She has denied those allegations. Maura Barrett, NBC News.
One elderly couple may have that beat. They aren't musicians, but Claude Frabel and Marita Swanson have been separated for over 7 decades. They met in 1953, but lost contact after Claude went to serve in the Korean War. 70 years later, for tonight's Best of Us, the lost lovers are finally reunited. Drew Mickelson from our friends at King 5 News has their story.
Did you sleep last night?
Oh, yeah. It's like Christmas morning, a birthday party, and the first visit from the Tooth Fairy, all in one. I think about her all the time. Everyone at Revel Issaquah has been looking forward to this day.
Claude has a very special guest coming over.
But no one has waited as long as Claude.
I have not seen her since 1958. That's her. She won the prettiest lady on campus when she went to college. And they would bus the girls up to Fort Devens for dances. And that's how I met her.
Claude and Marita spent just 4 weekends together in 1953, right before he shipped off to Germany with the Army. They never talked again until Claude found Marita's phone number in 2009.
I said, "You can't guess who this is." She said, "Claude Frabel?" Amazing. And she remembered my voice for that length of time.
They chatted regularly and exchanged pictures of their families, but haven't seen each other since the 1950s.
She just is flying in right now to SeaTac.
Claude landed this special date thanks to help from his independent living community. Marita lives at Revel in Scottsdale, Arizona, and the company paid for this reunion.
70 years of anticipation.
And after all that waiting, Marita showed up 20 minutes early.
That's what you're waiting for.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Hold on. I got to put a microphone on you.
Even the guest of honor can't wait.
Hold on.
Did you see how excited she was?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is cute. Hey, Claude.
It's time.
Your sweetheart's here.
Finally.
Let's go get her.
It's happening.
Welcome, welcome.
It's been a lifetime. A moment.
It's kind of exciting.
Where's Claude?
7 decades in the making.
I really am trying not to cry. I love you,
Oh, God. So good to see you. Oh, what a beautiful...
Oh, it's sweet. It's a sweet story. They haven't seen each other in 70 years. Yeah.
Their spouses have passed. They have grandchildren. Marita survived brain and lung cancer.
Well,
so much to talk about.
I was so fortunate to, you know, a little old farm kid from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, he was a tall and very handsome and a good dancer.
This story will not end with a wedding. These two long-lost lovers are going to keep things simple and just stay friends.
I'm just glad to see him again. And the fact that we are both old.
This is the happiest day of my life.
Drew Mickelson, thanks so much. And cheers to Claude and Marita. That does it for us tonight. I'm Valerie Castro. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.